What is this one? 02, 03?
Yeah, 03.
03.
4.6.
Okay, 03 Ford Explorer. We have a crank no start. I was talking to the owner and advised him to do a couple checks before I come, and he did check a fuel pressure. He had a new fuel pressure gauge he adapted here, and we had a 60 pounds of fuel pressure, which is okay. He cranked the engine over, and fuel pressure did remain same, around 60-65 psi. Next, I asked him to check the spark, and he was actually having this extra coil here, so that's what I'm going to use. Instead of taking the coils out, we're just going to plug this coil in and take a test light, crank the engine over and check for spark. Okay, so I got my test light connected to a good ground. I'm going to check to see it's light up, so go ahead and crank it. Go ahead, keep cranking. Okay, alright, good. Alright, so you can see we have a spark on, meaning that our crank, cam and crank sensor should work okay. And let's just unplug it. Next we're going to check do the same thing. We're going to have a test light still on a battery ground. It's still good. Turn the key on, please. Here's a power feed to each injector. This one on the left side, here, and here. I'm gonna put it down so we have a power. I'm gonna go this side where the control side is and see if it's going to flicker. Go ahead and keep cranking for me. Okay. Good. All right, so we can see we have a good injector pulse. Now the question is, what could be wrong? We have compression is good, fuel supply is good, ignition is okay, so what's missing? Next, I asked him to unplug the mass airflow sensor, just to see if the mass airflow sensor is skewed. So let's try to do that. Let's unplug it. Let's see if... Okay, crank it again. Okay, that's good. No, nothing. So my next step was to I did plug in the scan tool. Did not have any codes. However, I noticed it when I looked my data. I noticed that my throttle position sensor is at 100%. So then my next step was to when I was having my I looked my data on a scan tool, and I didn't have any fault codes stored, and so my next step was to verify 5-volt reference. And even though the computer was actually talking to me, so throttle position sensor right here on top, this top wire, kind of brown and white I guess, this is supposed to be a 5-volt ref. I'm going to back probe that wire. And we have a 0 volts. Okay. Next, I'm going to unplug the mass airflow sensor. This sensor is combined with a air temperature sensor because it uses 5 volts as well. I'm going to unplug it. They still have 0 volts. Then we have a coolant temperature sensor that works off of 5 volts. Then we have this DPF feed, delta pressure feedback sensor, and I'm going to unplug that sensor out. And let's see, 0.97. There you go. 5 volts is back. Okay, I wasn't. So let's do this again. I'm going to plug in the mass airflow sensor. All right, we're good. I'm going to plug in the DPFE sensor. Plug it back in. We're down to 0. Okay, so again, unplug the sensor. 5 volts. Plug the sensor back in, 0 volts. So we have a shorted 5 ref because of the shorted DPFE sensor. Alright, so now we should be able to start the car. Go ahead and start it up. Got some exhaust leak and stuff, but okay, shut it off and start it back up. Go start it up again. There you go. Starts right up. All right. That's where the misfire as well, but that's not a concern. This was a known start due to a shorted DPFE sensor. It dropped down to 5-volt draft, and none of the sensors actually could work, and the computer was kind of blind, didn't know how much fuel to add. I'm not sure if this truck has a, it actually does not have the clear flood mode because injectors are firing. Now it's just something else you have to make sure, you know, if your injectors are firing, you always check your 5 ref to make sure that your total position sensor is in correct position. So anyhow, shorted 5-volt ref causing the no start on this Ford Explorer V8. Thank you guys, see you next time, bye bye. Alright brother, you're done.